The search and rescue effort is growing at this hour. Tuesday's 7.1 magnitude quake killed at least 245 people in Mexico City and nearby states.
Search crews right now are focusing on schools with children still possibly trapped in that rubble. So let's go to reporter Omar Jimenez. He joins us live from Mexico City. Omar, are they still looking for a little girl in that school?
As we understand, they are now no longer looking for a little girl. The update we just got from the Mexican Navy now says that all of the children in this school, about a block from where I'm standing right now, have now been accounted for, either dead, at home, or hospitalized. But one person they say they do still believe might be under there is a woman they believe associated with the school, and that's what some of the efforts are focused on at this point. Now, where I'm standing is also acted as an access point, not just for food and supplies, but also for infrastructure. Many of the sites that these first responders are going through are unstable at this point, so as they make progress into those sites, they're having to fortify them along the way just to have the opportunity to get to someone who may be trapped.
A 7.1 earthquake left much of central Mexico devastated. The quake killed hundreds of people, leveled homes, schools, and churches. But crews haven't given up the hope of finding people alive in the rubble. Across the country, rescuers banded together to scour the debris. Even dogs joined the search.
My brother's alive, but the complicated thing is reaching him where he is. We can't just say he's here and take him out.
Volunteers removed bricks and pieces of concrete by hand and used thermal, sound, and movement sensors. Workers hold up their fists to signal for silence so rescuers can listen for signs of life. In Mexico City, more than 2,000 public schools have been damaged. This private elementary school folded in on itself. Several trapped children have been pulled alive from the debris. One girl says she was doing her English homework when the building began to shake.
Just when we were going to run down, part of the building collapsed and everything was dust and we couldn't see anything.
This is the second major earthquake to hit Mexico in 2 weeks. The country has declared 3 days of mourning.
And we mentioned there was still a lot of work being done. You can see just behind me just the conglomeration of many different facets of life here. You've got police officers. You've also got a bunch of other volunteers, construction workers. What you're looking at right there is the entrance to where the school is off to the left, and that's where we've seen many of the supplies go into throughout the day. I'm able to speak at full volume right now, and I mention that because throughout this entire morning, officials will essentially blow a whistle, raise their fists, and that means everybody needs to be quiet, and what they're doing there is trying to listen for extra clues away from all the generator noise and loud equipment, just to try and make sure that they don't leave any stone unturned.
And if you have to whisper when you answer this question, we do understand, Omar, but just wondering, earlier today I heard you say that this catastrophe could have been much worse. Could you explain how so? Because many of us here are wondering, how is that even possible?
Yeah, well, weirdly enough, this earthquake came actually on the anniversary of a 1985 earthquake here in Mexico City, and that one actually killed over 9,000 people. So we're talking about the death toll here in this situation in the hundreds, that one in the 9,000s. And what that did there was that actually changed building codes when it came to the way structures were being built. It also, many structures had foundations, I should say, that were more earthquake resistant, and we saw the effects of that today. So they learned from their mistakes in the past. We can imagine there will be some sort of self-evaluation process here as well to try and mitigate or minimize any future earthquake damage to make sure it's not as significant as these. But again, when you look at the death toll from, again, back in the 80s versus now and similar earthquakes, thousands versus hundreds, both tragic, but the numbers spell the difference there.
Giving us perspective, Omar Jimenez, live for us on the scene in Mexico City.